I'd like to call the Park and Rec Commission meeting of February 24th, 2022 to order. We do have a quorum, so we're good to go. Approval of January 27th minutes is next.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, unfinished business. We're going to have a presentation by Laura Sen, Play by Design, University Inclusive All Abilities Playground Project. So you may take the stand.
Laura, why don't you just jump right in?
Make it easy, right?
Laura's with Play by Design, the company we had hired to put the all the design together, construction documents, etc., for the All Abilities Playground. So.
Yep. Good evening. I'm Laura Sen from Play by Design. I have a hopefully not super long presentation for you guys. The first thing I want to do is just tell you a little bit about what we do. Our company, Play by Design, we're based out of Ithaca. We create custom designed commercial playgrounds. Most of the time they're community built, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We build them pretty much all across the country. We've done a few outside of the country, but primarily we work within the country. We have quite a few neighboring towns have our playgrounds. We're down in Franklin and Kenosha, Janesville. So if you're ever out and about, I'm sure you'll see them around. Let's see. So we specialize in inclusive and universal design. We think it's very important for children who, children who have mobility issues, who don't have mobility issues, and even, your neuroatypical children, and basically anybody. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable at a playground. We want to make sure they feel welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But here's another picture. One of the other things that we do is we really like to take the ideas of the children and bring them to life. Pretty much anything that a child will come up with, we will do our best to make it happen within the playground. So here you see a picture of a robot. A child wanted a robot, so Dave, who is one of our co-founders, he figured out a way to build a robot. Which one of those things when you hear it, it's like, yeah, but it turned out pretty cute. So inclusive play. A lot of people, when they think about inclusive play, they automatically think about accessibility too. Very different. Accessibility means that you can get to the equipment. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually use the equipment. When we think about accessibility or inclusive play, we want to make sure the child can get to the equipment, but they also want to be able to play in meaningful ways with their friends. So they want to be able to actually use it and to enjoy it and be able to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. If you put something they can get to, but they can't use it, they're not going to feel very good about themselves. So we want to kind of give that sense of accomplishment and pride that, hey, I can get to these monkey bars and I can pull myself through them, next to my friend who is also playing on monkey bars. And there are a few ways that we like to bring inclusion into our playgrounds. One of these ways is through parallel play. So we'll mount, in this picture, we mounted rings at two different heights, one high and one low. So if a child is either in a wheelchair or maybe they're just not developmentally ready to use the high monkey bars, they can use the low ones while one of their friends uses the high ones. In this picture, we have a zip line. One of the swings, or I guess the chair things that you sit on, is your typical, it's like a dish. And then the other one is your high-backed inclusive swing, so that if a child doesn't have the core strength or the muscle stability to stay on the other type of seat, they can go in that one, and both children can go down the zip line at the same time. Sensory play is another great way to bring inclusion in. Sensory, as this picture of the musical area, it's one of those areas that is kind of a multi-generational space. So a lot of adults also like to use the music equipment. It's fun to see grandparents and little kids playing next to each other. This is a mud wall. And just so you know, all the pictures that I'm showing you, they're all pictures of the equipment that are going to be in your playground. And eventually I'll get to the real pictures. But this is a mud wall, and it's very tactile, so the children can touch it. And if you kind of look closely within it, the animals that you see are all Ice Age animals. So it kind of brings in a little bit of the theming in there too. Sensory panels, also really good for inclusive play. We like to include ones where children can go up. I think it's important for kids to be able to play forward facing. A lot of times you'll have a panel and a child in a wheelchair has to kind of turn and reach. So if we make it so that they can go right up to it, like those two smaller ones you see, they're on the end of a post so they can go up to it. And there are other ones that they're kind of half the length of the Braille panel that's right up there. And where you mount it, they can go right under it and face it and use it. Some universal design elements that we'll bring in. You'll see there's a picture of ramping. So most playgrounds all have steps, and 90% of children can probably use those. But that leaves out 10% of children who can't use it. Doesn't seem like a lot until your child's one of the 10%. So just by putting in a couple of ramps, it allows 100% of the kids to be able to get up onto the structure and utilize some of the equipment that's off of the ramping. The picture below that, it's called the Ability Whirl, has spaces for a couple wheelchairs. It has some seats as well, so if children have issues with balance, they can sit down, plenty of room for kids to stand and use it. Just a nice piece that every single child would be able to use. And then the one to the left is called the We Go Swing. And that was one that we put in instead of the Liberty Swing, which was originally our idea. Now this one, child does not have to get out of their wheelchair to use it, and they can use it with another child at the same time. Whereas the original idea was one that only children in wheelchairs can use, had to be a little bit separated, so it wasn't as inclusive feeling. We included a lot of your typical swinging, spinning, sliding equipment. Great for working the vestibular system in children, which is important. Just so they get all that spinning and used to feeling how their bodies move within space. Now, kind of along those same lines, we like to think about variability. So we put the slides in, but we make sure we have a variety of choices for children depending on their developmental abilities. So when you have a younger child or a child who might just need to be working on their motor skills, isn't quite, capable enough to use the bigger slides, we have the smaller ones. Great place for them to practice. Once they get used to the smaller ones, they can move up to the bigger ones. Here's a couple of rock walls. One is an arch rock wall, a lot easier to get up to the platform than the vertical rock wall. The vertical rock walls are very challenging just because you have to not fall backwards and try and figure out how your hands and your feet go to get across it. Very similar, this is with a net bridge. We have one that's straight across, a lot easier. The squares are smaller. And then we have one that's a little bit bigger, and then is it an incline? So that brings us to the community build process. Now we primarily work with community builds, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The community comes together to build the playground. The first step is creating a committee. Now, you guys have a great committee already. They've been working hard, they've been fundraising for a while, just kind of getting the word out about the project. And we've been working with them and with the city on the design for a bit now as well. So the design, once we were speaking with the committee, then we needed like the design input, what we want, or what they want this park to look like. So it was in the middle of COVID. Typically I would have come out, we would have interviewed children. So we had to do it virtually. We did a lot through Facebook, made a video, posted the video, got feedback from children, from parents, basically anyone who wanted to give feedback. And then the committee gave that to me. So we took all of that information and created this initial design. Now, after we do the design, we give it back to the committee, say, this is what we came up with, tell us what you think. Very similar to writing an essay. We always say this is the first draft. If you hate it, it's okay. Like, it's just on paper. We can change whatever you want. And then they gave us all their feedback on it, and then we did a development. So you can see we put in a lot more pathways, we added some more equipment. The layout's a little bit different. They wanted to make sure that kids could kind of go around and see what they wanted to play on before they got onto it, really separated things. You have that higher and lower level. And then got more feedback, changed it a little bit more, and we ended up with our final design. So once we had, everything worked out, we take that design and we turn it into construction documents. So now that we have all of this part done, we have the design and everything figured out, then you kind of get into the hard work portion. So now we have to raise money, get volunteers. Volunteers are really the heart of what we do. They're the ones that make these big projects a lot more manageable. Trying to accomplish something like this, especially just as a city, it just takes up so much time. And it wouldn't be a community build just because it's easier just to, send in a contractor and get it done. So having volunteers, having a great committee is important because, that's how this whole thing happens. And it really gives the community a sense of ownership because they worked on it. We really like to we like to ask people who are here to think about like what they're good at, what they want to do to help. Fundraising is going to be very important. That's probably going to be the biggest portion right now. A lot of different ways. They've already started selling pickets. You'll see one over there. Selling sponsorships to the pieces of equipment. We've had some playgrounds that have pretty much funded their entire project, or at least 80% of it, by selling components. And, not forgetting about the little fundraisers, like a bowling fundraiser or your bake sales. Those are great ways to get the information out to people. Just those little, you might not make a lot of money, but you might get a lot of volunteers from them. Publicity, they're doing a great job. They have their Facebook page up. They're posting about what's going on a lot. Creating a brochure, flyers, that type of thing is a great way. If you have people who, maybe someone donates $2,000, send out a press release, have a big PR showing like, thank you. Because that gets other people thinking about, we should do that too. And then just, having some really good graphics is helpful too, just because people like to look at them. Volunteers get hungry at the build, so we'll need a lot of local restaurants to donate. The committee, they'll have a food committee member who's kind of in charge of that, who asks for donations, sets up their menu. During the build, they'll get the food tent set up, make sure everything's there on time. Materials is another important committee. You'll need a lot of materials to build it. It's quite large. I guess you guys have a great materials guy already who's going to be helping, who's going to be working with the town. So that's good that at this point, because some people don't have materials coordinators until later on, so it's a good thing to have them at this point. As we get closer, you're going to need to get a lot of tools loaned. Some people will buy them. It's obviously better and more economical to get loans from people. There will be a big tools trailer. It'll be nice and organized, lots of shelves, all locked up, so you don't have to worry about anything happening to the tools. And the volunteers are really good at taking care of other people's tools. We've never really had a problem with anything. And you'll have like a contingency set aside just in case something does happen, if a cord needs to be replaced or something needs to be fixed on a tool. And the other way that's a great way to get local people involved is through artwork. So you have a couple places where local artists can paint things, like you'll have a big rock wall, you'll have facades. They're like the fronts of houses, kind of. And having somebody who wants to take that on is great. And like in that one picture, you can see little fish and stuff. If someone wanted to, make Ice Age animals or something to put in the playground, there's a lot of ways that local artists can get involved, and it's a really nice way to make it your own and make it something that you're not going to see anywhere else. The next step is building it. And I have a couple pictures just of going through the different steps, just getting posts in the ground. Everything's stick built, so it doesn't come as a set. You'll literally get piles of lumber. And then just have to cut your boards and make your steps and put it all together. So you'll start getting all your posts in the ground, getting your framing up. The first couple days, it's really going to look like a bunch of toothpicks just sticking out of the ground. Off to the side, people will be getting equipment put together, routing boards. It's kind of interesting to see because I don't know if any of you have ever seen one of these, but it looks extremely chaotic just while you're looking at it because there's so many things going on. But you'll have, your roofs over here being built, and then you'll have your prefab tent where people are routing lumber, and then you'll have people over here building steps, and everyone kind of does everything at the same time until a couple days in when it all gets put together. So you'll see like your steps are on and your towers are up, your roofs will be built. And that bottom picture on the right-hand side, that's a good picture of what your site will look like. So you can see those blue containers are containers where the tools are stored, some of the materials, and then you'll have your prefab tents and everything kind of set up all around the site. At the end, you'll do your last little finishing touches. I included in here a communication panel because I thought that would be definitely something that you guys are going to want in there. Your roofs are up. You're just kind of really making it look pretty at this point. And then once everything's done, you guys are going to have pour-in-place rubber poured after everything's built. So the last day, you can have a soft opening, but it's not going to be ready for everybody yet. So once everything's done, everything's cleaned up, you're ready to go, you'll have a big ribbon cutting ceremony where, you can come and be like, look what we did, and everyone will be excited. All the kids will line up. And I'm going to play a couple of videos for you. I think videos sometimes are a little bit easier to get across what's going to happen. This one was from Kenosha, and it shows the process of the playground going up, and then it also shows Tammy talking a little bit about her experience. If there's sound. Yeah, there is.
From the very beginning, there was a very important message behind our simple slogan, "Can we build it? Yes, we can."
When we started, I was told, this is never going to happen. And I said, oh no, this is going to happen.
The first playground that I visited was Possibility Playground. I was awestruck when I saw the children that were playing side by side. Children with disabilities, children without disabilities, were just having fun, being kids, enjoying the day. It speaks volumes for the community in which we live. It says we embrace people of all abilities, and we're going to do what we can to make sure that nobody in Kenosha sits on the sidelines and watches other people play.
To have all of this support around people with special needs, to get people to come out and who have no building experience and build this for people with special needs, it's outstanding.
The Dream Playground is a place where every child can go and play together, even if they have a disability. Don't cry.
We funded the playground, we built the playground, and now it is time for all of us to enjoy the playground.
See little children literally bring their piggy banks to our fundraisers and dump them for money they were saving to go on a vacation or something like that, and to dump them and say, this is for the playground. You know you guys.
Be proud. Take ownership. Love and protect this beautiful playground that all of you helped to create.
One day Amity said to me, I love you, Miss C. Thank you for building me a playground. And I said, I didn't build this playground for you, the community did. And it's not just your playground, you're going to need to have to share it.
All right, and I have one more video. I thought this is actually from Franklin, which is kind of funny that both videos are from right next door. But because this is a private-public partnership, this is one where the mayor of Franklin speaks a little bit about that. So I thought it might be a nice thing to listen to.
You can never underestimate the amount of assistance your community will give you if you tell them the story.
Kayla was my daughter, and she had been diagnosed with cerebral palsy at a young age, and was with us for a beautiful 8 years. And within that 8 years, she taught us a lot about life and what's important. And what better way to teach life lessons than on a playground, on the foundation of a playground, to bring all abilities together.
This playground is accessible to all children, regardless of their physical ability. So, child in a wheelchair is welcome, and there's lots of facilities for that. Child on crutches, as well as the able-bodied children. And it's designed throughout to handle the special needs of all kids. The unique features here is the Liberty Swing is a wheelchair. It's built for wheelchair-bound children, and it could accommodate adults. Those who can't get out of a wheelchair and have never experienced that feeling of swinging. We've got a wheelchair accessible merry-go-round. It's designed for 2 children who are in wheelchairs. There's also facilities for children who have balance issues. They can sit and still be on the merry-go-round, as well as able-bodied kids. We have 2 stainless steel slides that are designed to help kids with cochlear implants have the experience of sliding down a slide. They can't slide down fiberglass slides because it interferes with their transmitters in their ears. We have 2 unique swings called expression swings that allows a parent to swing with their child facing them together. It's one of the unique features. We have ramps to get access to all of the different activities, in addition to all the usual playground activities, monkey bars, balance beams, that kind of thing.
So a lot of businesses, organizations, nonprofits, private and public parties were all involved, which really makes it a truly special playground.
It was public-private. We had the fire chief right next to a citizen working on the same project. Police chief, firefighters, planners, working with the citizens. So it was truly a public-private effort.
It's really important that we have more projects like this in our communities and across the state to get ideas and to partner in a way that we can offer wonderful projects like this that bring the community together.
It's a tremendous recognition for the efforts of the city staff and Kayla's crew working together to accomplish this marvelous, marvelous playground. Wouldn't have been done if it was a municipal project. It truly had to be a public-private venture, and it's a marvelous thing.
All right, I think the next one is your playground. So I have a couple different views, and they're also printed out over on the tables if you want to go take a peek at them later up close. But you can see it's a good sized park. We have a nice big 2 to 5 area, and the 5 to 12 area is unique because we have the upper level and then a lower level. So you can get from one to the other, either via the walkway or on the outside, or you can go down a slide. You can go down the climbers. A couple ways to get down and up, but here it is from the back. A couple close-up views of the 2 to 5 area. This is right where you would enter into the playground. And you can see we have, right in the front there, it's a saber-toothed tiger sculpture. So one of the things that we really wanted to bring in was just some unique ways to incorporate the Ice Age theme. One of the things I said, don't make it look like an ice castle. We don't want it to be icy. You know, just making it natural and having lots of elements that the kids can play in. There's there's a lot of little cozy spots in here, which is nice. So all the way to the left, it's shaped like an igloo. And the opening is large enough that a child in a wheelchair can go inside. And so they can go inside with their friends too. That was important. That little green round thing in the front is called the cozy spinner. And it spins and you can go inside it while you spin. They're pretty neat. We've put them in quite a few playgrounds before, and I've tried it out myself, and it's it's pretty fun. It's cute. Ramping, of course, as well as stairs, lots of slides. Here it is from the other side. We have a big play mound in the front. That's what that turquoise mound is. There's a tunnel that'll go through. It's surfaced in turf, so it gives you another kind of like a little tactile element that's different than the rest of the surfacing. We put a nice wide slide on there so that either 2 children could go down together or a child and their caregiver can go down. There is the net climber in front, which was important. They wanted to have kind of almost like mirroring the different elements so that the little kids had something to climb on that the big kids also had. Lots of swings. And we did get in a couple of, like in the video you saw, the expression swing. This one's a little bit different. It's called the connection swing. But the same idea. The parent sits in there and then the child sits with them in the swing and they can swing together. Have the high backed, the freedom swings, and then bucket swings. So this, if you go up around the outside of the park, the pathway, the first thing you'll see is this big giant mammoth sculpture. And that's connected to that big net. And it was just, again, another fun way to bring in the Ice Age theme. We just wanted something super grand to really grab your eye and make you, especially being up in the back, to make you want to go up the pathway and go see what's up there. If you keep walking around the back of the playground, that's where you get to the ramp entrance for that big, huge central tower. So there's quite a few, you can ramp onto it, and there's a lot of space up there for a child just to, you can even just go up there and hang out if they wanted to. But there's a lot of room for a child in a wheelchair to be up there. Enough room that if you had multiple children in wheelchairs, there'd be plenty of space for them. And then you can see how it connects over there to the net climber. If you keep going around, you can kind of see there's a slide coming off of the pathway, and there's also a net climber so you can go up and then slide back down. Continuing around, this brings you down to the lower area where we have the double zip lines. There's an obstacle course area. A lot of swings. The dish swings are really nice because multiple children can use them at the same time on the same swing. And also children who are in wheelchairs, if they can transfer out, they're able to use them. They can either lay in them or lay on their bellies. It's a really nice, a lot of times you'll see therapists use them. Children who have autism really like it to lay on their belly so they can swing back and forth. A lot of the elements that are great for children in wheelchairs are also really good for children with autism too. We talk to a lot of therapists while we do this, and one of the things they said, they love to run up and down ramps, some of them. It's just, one of those things that we put in mainly for accessibility purposes, and then there's kind of like a secondary benefit to it. So you probably wonder how much it's going to cost. I put together this kind of a simplified cost analysis. I have one that's a little bit more specific if you guys want to take a look at it, but just for the presentation. I broke it down into, right at the top you'll see it's mainly the surfacing. I put the mound in there, any lighting, security cameras. You'll need some retaining walls, concrete work done. So that first number is all of that. The second section is all play equipment, and it's separated into the different areas. There was at one point we were talking about maybe doing it in phases. So we just wanted to kind of separate that out. So you can see how much the 2 to 5 area equipment would be, the 5 to 12 area equipment, and then the total amount is there. The next would be the materials. I lumped all of the hardware and building supplies together just because a lot of things you're not going to purchase twice. It was just easier to put that together in one number. And then again, I separated out the plastic lumber costs. The shelter is in there. That's like a nice central seating spot. So parents can be under there and they can see the whole playground and watch their children. There's some picnic tables under there, just a nice spot to go up there and relax. And then there's the line item for the concrete and the stone. And then I have a good chunk in there for contingencies. There's always something that needs to be purchased. Or a price goes up, but just so there's a little wiggle room in there. And then the final line is the material surcharge fees. A lot of the suppliers right now have this additional fee just because of the increased cost in raw materials and sourcing. Hopefully it will go away. we've heard a little bit of chatter about things looking better. So I'm hoping that when you guys go to purchase it, that will no longer be a line item, because it's certainly made it difficult to budget for projects when they keep throwing surcharges on. But everything together comes just over 1.6 million, which seems like a big number, but it's a really big playground. And just for comparison, the one down in Kenosha, that was about $1 million, and that was, I want to say 2015. So, it's probably about comparable. And that's it for my presentation. I don't know, Mike, if you want to talk a little bit more about anything, or if you have any questions for me.
Sure. Just a couple additions with the costs associated with this. What Play by Design, we basically hired them to put together this design. We have other work that needs to be done outside of the playground area. We'd have to rebuild part of our parking lot that's out there, ADA compliant walkways up to the playground, things like that. So there's additional costs above and beyond this 1.6 million. That was not part of their scope of services. So Laura and Play by Design and their team did exactly what was asked. But we would also look at, the reality is we'd have to remove the existing playground, grade the site out, modify the parking lot. We will look at a drop-off zone for buses, cars, larger vehicles. We would also look at some potential remodeling to the restroom out there to provide for adult changing stations in both the men's and women's room, or we even talked about possibly maybe reducing the men's restrooms and having a third door basically put in, that there would be an adult changing room just by itself. So there would be additional costs associated with it. I would think overall project cost be around $2 million for the project. Laura did mention the community build aspect, that we would definitely take a look at that. The parent group has done an outstanding job already, making a lot of contacts throughout the community, et cetera. They're also looking at in-kind donations to help get things constructed. So if someone wants to maybe not donate cash or things like that, maybe some work, maybe some tools, reduce costs on materials, et cetera. So lots of moving parts. The design itself, I think Laura and her Play by Design did an outstanding job putting this together. It's kind of a cool design because it's a two-layered or two-level playground where the 2 to 5 year olds, it's a little bit lower, and the 5 to 12 year old is up on top. It's a little bit higher, things like that, but really cool design, great location out at Ridge Run. Yeah. The one thing that's really key in my mind for that location is we've got the big ridge behind it, the green, the trees, the quiet. It's not in the middle of the city. You just look at all the different abilities that are out there that would be using this, and I think that setting is really important to it. But again, their design and their theory of design is great, because like their ramping, it's not just wide enough for a mobility device, it's wide enough for that and someone else to pass. Someone's in a wheelchair, they don't want to be the ones holding up the line. They want to be able to go up, enjoy themselves. They don't want to be that person, so other people can pass at the same time. Laura touched on some of it. We just don't want ramps and a platform for them. Once they get to that point, there's things for them to do. They have transfer portions on their slides, so instead of having someone from a wheelchair sit down on the floor or on the ground or on the deck to try and then get up into these slides, they have it all set up that they can go right from the wheelchair to the slide down below. Again, at the bottom of the slide, they can slide off to the side, other people can still pass and things like that. So they're not slowing anyone up, which much of their life, when they're in wheelchairs and grocery stores and things like that, they might experience some of that. Not in this design, that's not part of this. Laura also touched on it, some of the other features that are out there. Some of the users, some of the playground users may not want to interact with a lot of kids right off the bat. They may want to seclude themselves, be by themselves a little bit, or if they're busy playing, they might just need a little bit of that quiet time. There's a lot of that out there, so they can do that. The layout and design also supports all ages, I think that's important, especially nowadays with a lot of grandparents, babysitting, taking care of their kids, things like that, where the grandparents can also gain access to the majority of these areas. So it truly is an all-inclusive, all-abilities playground where everyone can use it. Everyone's going to be equal. Great design, looks good. I like the colors. It's cool. It's great. A lot of work. We got some fundraising to do. As far as the fundraising goes, I mean, the core parent group is here tonight. But we did put together some fundraising information that's on the back there. If people want to make a general donation, we have a form. They want to purchase a fence picket, we have a form for that. We also are putting together a donation form also for if someone wants to purchase a specific item on the playground itself, they can do that also. You know, a company, an individual, family, foundation, etc. So, like the one, what's the swing? Not the Liberty Swing. What's the name?
Oh, the We Go Swing.
Yeah. So something like that. I mean, we're talking, $55,000, something like that. So if someone wants to donate specifically for that, that opportunity be out there. So, but yeah, and then again, the community build. To build this thing, it's going to take 2 weeks. Probably won't go 2 weeks straight. It'll be prep the site, get things ready, materials on site, et cetera, we do a week build, take a week off or whatever we would need, and I'll go back at it again. But we will need hundreds of volunteers. I know the commissioners already volunteered, so they're all set.
Oh, yeah.
So, but no, it's, thank you, and thank you for your team to do exactly what was asked of you, things like that. A lot of corresponding back and forth with Ithaca, New York.
Yeah.
No, it went very well. So Laura's great to work with. So that's what I have.
Well, thanks, Laura. First of all, I don't know if you realize she flew in from Ithaca, New York, not Ithaca, Wisconsin, okay?
Oh, do you have an Ithaca here too?
I think there is somewhere. But when are you flying back? Tomorrow?
Yep.
With snow?
Yep.
But thanks again.
Hoping I can get back.
You will. You will. Thanks for your presentation. It was very well done.
Thank you.
Is there any other commissioners have any questions for Laura?
I just have one question. Why would you have a soft opening? Why wouldn't you just have a grand opening when it's completed?
Some people, it's completely up to the group. Some people like to, kind of like we're done, not quite done, but just mainly for the people who worked on it, they can come bring their kids if they want to. It depends. Some places don't like to do that just because you're not going to have surfacing down. So,
The one challenge too, Mike, is we're going to have all these volunteers out there, I'll say during a 3 or 4 week window. When they're done, the playground's not done yet because we still have to put in the port in place and concrete work. Well, probably maybe some concrete work, but restoration, things like that. So the actual, to have a soft opening or a thank you to all the volunteers, that might be appropriate where a month or a month and a half later is when, everything will be ready for operation. So.
Yeah, at least have cake.
Yeah.
Cake is good.
Cake, beverages, whatever.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I got one. Who leads the build effort once we get going? Is there support from them, or is it on you? Or, obviously somebody's going to be the go-to to say, this goes here, this goes there. Who's directing all of that?
Sure.
That's a task in itself.
Again, if at some point in time we'd have to look at how, if we'd have to bid this out to begin with. So ultimately it's play by design, but ultimately it's our project, it's our construction drawings, etc. So we could hire anyone we wanted, but this is what they do every day,
Yeah.
So ultimately it comes down to, Randy, you literally have a sheet with all the different things on it, on who's going to do what. The volunteer, the parent team already has that established where this person's this, and that all the way through. But ultimately it will land on myself, Dan, and probably one of his staff members. We would be on-site coordinators. Not just those couple of weeks, the months in advance to make sure that, supplies, materials, as things sit these days, we should probably order materials now so if we have them for next year or whatever, so, yeah. But no, it would be it's a ton of logistics, it is, it really is. But again, if we were to build this with play by design, this is what they do every day. So when Laura's talking about people are building roofs over here and doing this, doing that, could we coordinate some of that? Sure, but again, we don't do it every day, so.
So they do provide.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, we do. On a project this big, we would send probably 4 people, I would assume. So there would be 4 of us construction consultants. We actually have one here. He lives down in Kenosha, so he came up for the day. But he'll have the group of volunteers. What'll happen is there'll be a big like volunteer check-in tent. For liability purposes, which I'm sure is important to the town, anybody who's on site has to sign a waiver. So we have a standard one. You'll probably want to add to it. A lot of times you will. And then the volunteers come in. There's one way in, one way out to the site. They have to go through the volunteer tent. Have to sign in, sign the waiver. They sign up as either a skilled or unskilled volunteer. So if you're skilled, you have red? Yeah, a red tag. So when we're looking around, we can say, all right, you're skilled, you're unskilled, you guys work together, that type of thing. So volunteers come in, they get taken to one of our construction consultants. They give them a task or bring them over to one of the crew leaders, because you'll also have some crew leaders. You'll probably need about 10 people who are here on site for the whole entire build, every day, all 3 shifts. And they're kind of like our right-hand men or women. And we tell them, you know, this is what we're doing. We're building stairs. Show them how to build stairs. So the construction consultant doesn't have to be the one to relay the information to every single volunteer who comes in, which is especially important when volunteer shifts change and people come back and people leave. So they relay the information on, and it just kind of are extensions of us. And it makes it work much more smoothly and easier, keeps things going, doesn't hold things up. But yeah, there's, you know, a lot of different things going on all at the same time.
I would assume then that is part of this cost, is their involvement? No, that's
Nope.
not. So that's extra yet.
Yep, that would all be extra, sure. Basically, Play by Design was hired
This is
to
the
get us to
design.
this point.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
design, final design, costs associated, construction documents, et cetera.
So in your roughly 2 million, are you including a ballpark number for their involvement?
Yep, we would need
Okay.
to incorporate all that, sure.
Any other questions? Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak tonight? All right, that's excellent. Okay. I guess our final thing is, if there's a motion to approve the design tonight, because the money's there for the design, and would we approve this design? Do we have a motion tonight?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, anything? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
That would have been embarrassing if you didn't.
Just an added note, Mike, thank you, Laura, and to the parent group that's leading this effort. Thank you for your work so far, and obviously for your work to come here. We've got a long way to go, but
Yep.
I trust we can get this done. So thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, on to new business. Jackie or Mike, who's going to be in charge here?
I will take the first one.
Okay.
A memorandum of understanding. We did put a small map at everyone's place setting. It should help kind of explain how this is going to work. This memorandum of understanding this evening, I'm not going to go through the entire document. As we do go through it, if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know or ask. But this memorandum of understanding is between the City of West Bend and Trails Edge Development. It's basically going to be a small concrete walkway from their development over to the Riverwalk right off of Forest Avenue there. Trails Edge would be responsible for constructing this, maintaining it, maintenance being snow removal, etc. we would have to do nothing with this. It's a real kind of general MOU, but again, it's a real general request, basically is what it comes down to. We do have another situation just like this pending out there off of Sand Drive for that development over there for a possible future connection to what would probably be the Vine Street right-of-way extension to our walkway over there, things like that. So something like this, if it's approved this evening, you might see a document like this again, maybe yet this calendar year for another connection. Ultimately, the folks over at Trails Edge want to get good access to the Riverwalk. So that's what I got.
Any questions for Mike?
This was obviously looked at by the attorney, city attorney?
Yeah, this was looked at by city attorney, also our planning department. Everyone's taking a look at it, so, yes.
I would assume this was part of the development agreement or part of the initial plan that they wrote.
Yeah, I think this was actually a little bit of an add-on once that was all, once the initial approvals went through. This was kind of just an add-on, but again, for me, it makes a lot of sense for the connection from that development.
Yep.
It's a small sidewalk.
Yep.
Right. So.
One of the Eisenbahn, that's quite an embankment going up to that.
Yep, and the Eisenbahn, because it's a state trail, and then it's maintained by the county, and then we're involved, and imagine 3 years of red tape to try and get a connection there. And just with the slopes, the elevations, to make it handicap accessible would be a mountainous task, but with this connection here, they can get right to the Riverwalk. If someone wants to get to the Eisenbahn, they can just circle around,
Makes sense.
almost like a clover leaf, so.
Move to approve.
Second? Do we have a second? Yep. We have motion, second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, now Jackie, I bet.
Now I'll go.
All right.
I have a mound of special events for you to approve tonight, so I'll go through them as quickly as I can. The majority of these events are all returning, so if you do have any really specific questions after I describe them, please feel free. First event is Casa Guadalupe is requesting permission to host Fiesta Latina again in Regner Park on Saturday, May 21st. This is one of our really long-running events, and they do just a phenomenal job, so.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the Downtown West Bend Association. I have several from the Downtown West Bend Association. I have Farmers Market Saturdays. I have Music on Main. And then I also, down the line a little bit, I have the Wheels on Main. Before I explain each of these really quickly, I do want to let you know that there is a new executive director for the Downtown Association, and she and I have had multiple conversations. She's very active and proactive. They've actually, they worked very closely with us on the winter warm-up event. But they have already taken action and have gotten a dumpster for that they are putting in between the buildings, and they are aware. I spoke to her yesterday or today actually about it, and about garbage down there and being aware of it, especially on farmers market Saturdays. They do run into a problem because they have vendors, and so sometimes vendors dump and run. But for the most part, they are aware of it, and they've never had a dumpster before of their very own. So life is good for the Downtown Association. So in any case, we're going to start with the Farmers Market Saturdays. It will be starting Saturday, May 21st, and it will go through October 29th. And we all know how popular that is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Next one is the Thursday Night Music on Main series. They will go 14 consecutive Thursday evenings, June 2nd and ending September 1st. Hopefully this year we're actually going to have a full season without any interruption.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
I'm going to jump down to the Wheels on Main one that we have. It's letter I. Also, this is a very popular event. It's Labor Day weekend. It's that Sunday. This year it'll be on Sunday, September 4th. And again, very popular and well attended.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now we're going into the Hometown Foundation, which offers two separate events. The first one is their music series, Regner Rocks. They hold them Thursday nights in Regner Park. This year, they're going to be doing six events, six Thursday nights. They're a little bit more spread out, primarily because of everything that goes on in Regner Park. These were the dates that were available. Regner Park is a pretty busy place, the entertainment area. So this year they have 6 Thursday evenings that they will be operating music in Regner Park on Thursday nights.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any questions?
I got one.
Okay, Mike?
There was no concerns or problems last year. I remember when we first had that on Thursday, there was concerns, and there really wasn't any issues with it.
No, not once we got over the first day. But
Well, yeah, other than that.
But other than the first day, there was no issues.
Okay, good.
Its demographics are pretty different.
Good, good.
And then the second Hometown Foundation.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
Running right on.
No, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep it
No
moving.
problem, Jackie. Keep it going.
Okay, the next one is the Homegrown Concert. This was the original of the Homegrown Organizations events. We actually partnered with the Homegrown Organization on this for, I think, 4 or 5 years. We actually helped get it off the ground, and now they are standing on their own 2 feet, so we don't need to host with them anymore. Anyhow, this will be Sunday, July 10th. It's the Sunday after the 4th of July in Regner Park in the entertainment area.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Next one we have is also a very well-attended and long-running event, the West Bend Community Columns Run, which will be held Thursday, August 4th. And this is generously sponsored by Homegrown Bank. So they do all the manpower, they do all the organizing, whatever, and then the Columns organization also is involved. Also, a good amount of park staff have to really help us with this event because it requires moving rocks and heavy equipment is required because the run takes place through Riverside Park and down trails and whatnot. So it does require some additional manpower from park staff.
Okay, we got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Next one is a return, but I think it's been 2 years since they have done a fundraiser. The West Bend Public Schools Foundation is going to be presenting a Rebel Grace in Regner Park on Saturday, August 20th. So that's a concert, and I'm glad to see that they're back in our park. It's really good to work with them. We do a lot of cooperative programming between the schools and the parks
Move
and
to approve.
recreation.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, Jay.
Wisconsin Riders event is they do their pig roast. These are the police organization, the police fraternal organization. So we don't even have to give them keys because they have it, which is nice. But so it's a great event for the fraternal organization. And yep.
We got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Final event for tonight is Abigail's Race of Endurance. Last year, this was a first event, and they did a 5K and a 10K last year, and now this year, it was so successful last year, they're doing a half marathon this year as well. That's going to be Sunday, September 25th. They just do the starting and ending in Ragnar Park. God bless the West Bend Police, because a lot of streets are closed, and a lot of manpower happens with the police. So they actually are much more intensely involved in this than we are. They start and finish in our park.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
I will bring some more to you next month.
Thank you, Jackie.
I mean, summer's on its way.
Yes.
Yay.
Donations.
We got 3 donations tonight. The first one is from River Shores Chiropractic. This is our first Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids sponsorship of the year. Get ready, there's going to be lots more of those. $1,250 for the 2022 Dirty Ninja Mud Run for Kids. We have a second installment of the Early Risers Kiwanis of West Bend. As you recall, they pledged $50,000 donation. We've received 20 of that so far. This is a $5,000. This represents their 2021 installment of that commitment for that full donation. And that is for the library basement renovation project. And then finally, we have a cash donation for the archery range improvements. This represents $18, just cash donations collected at the archery range on Municipal Drive.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the donations?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, now to reports. Chairman doesn't have too much to say, just I want to thank again, I think everybody knows that Nick is moving on to the same position in a different city, and we wish him well, so good for him. It's closer, I guess, to his hometown, right, where he grew up, and I understand that fully. So we do wish him and thank him for all he did for the city. And then Cindy, which is going to be a tough one, she's retiring. It's going to be a tough one to replace. So good luck, Cindy. Enjoy retirement. It's a good gig, just so you know, all right? Okay, anything for secretary?
I'll just say it's nice to see these events getting approved, that summer is truly on its way.
Good. Okay, Cindy's not here. Dan, do you have something to tell us tonight?
Yeah, I got some things for you. Tomorrow, we're gonna end street tree pruning for the winter. We got a busy month coming up helping engineering with projects, a lot of removals for them. So tomorrow's our last day for that. Rough guess, we did about 1,200 to 1,500 small street trees. With snow and just the really cold weather, it's kind of hard to be out all the time. Next week, Wednesday, like I said, we're going to start working with engineering. We have Laurel Drive North. We got to do a bunch of tree work. 18th Avenue from the dog park down to Paradise. A lot of trees along the cemetery are coming down. Also 5th Avenue. And then after that, this is all before April 1st, hopefully. We got to remove the remaining trees down by the BMO Harris and the lot for the Riverwalk. So we got to get that done too. So Wednesday, we got our beehive from for LLC. Kind of touched on that with, or we will after this. We drilled through the 10-inch poured wall downstairs, got soaking wet because we rented a, I don't know what you call it. It's like a
Wet drill.
core, wet core drill.
Yeah.
Well, we were surprised at how much rain jackets were needed. So, yeah, we did that. We got the frame up. We had a little bit of issues with the beehive we received. It's a little cracked. So Courtney got a hold of the provider, and they're going to be sending us a new one. So, talked with a contractor. We're going to start getting some stumps ground for the pine tree plantation to keep that project going. We have some things set up for May for a volunteer planting with some Girl Scout troops and with the Hartford High School to kind of, we got 50 trees we got to plant out there. I got some quotes for some signs for Claus Creek. After getting the quotes, we will be building the sign in-house. It's a lot more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. And then this way, all of our park signs will be the same, because right now that's the only one that's a little different. The last thing I got is staff is continuing education. We got Diggers Hotline coming up, Reinders, guys for turf specialists go down there. You guys have been doing some UW extension courses, just to keep the staff improving.
Great. Well, Dan, I told this to Mike the other day. Your tree trimming, you guys are efficient, okay? You did my neighborhood, and you got my tree done too, because I was looking at it for a while, and I watched you guys go, and it, like you said, it's cold out. You had, like, you were bundled up, everybody, and just to see you guys going down the line, the 2 guys cutting, 1 guy picking up, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the crew did a fantastic job this winter. I mean, you get on the street, we got multiple compliments from residents saying pretty much the same thing you just said, Mike. You know, guys are here, hour later, everything's gone.
They were gone. Didn't see a thing.
So, yeah, that's the name of the game.
Yep, cool. Anything else for Dan? Thanks, Dan. Jackie, did you do it all with your 16 different events? or?
Pretty much. Keep an eye out. The activities book will be coming out at the end of March. In the meantime, we will have it online, hopefully, God willing, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. That it will actually, we put it online ourselves. And then the book will go out in hard copy on the Friday. There's a Friday and a Sunday that they go out. And otherwise, just working also tag team with Carolyn and Mike on some of the stopgap recreation stuff. So.
Great. Thanks, Jackie. Somebody going to handle Courtney, Mike?
I think I emailed those out
You did,
Friday,
so-
I think, or something.
Yep,
So,
yep. So it should be covered, okay?
We're not planting, that pine plantation, that's all gonna be maple and oak now? Or we don't plant pines in there anymore?
No, we had all the pines harvested, all the stumps are there. We're working with a local contractor. He comes in with his forestry mower to grind that all up, so we got a fresh slate, because we want to turn that into like a regeneration from prairie in Royal Oaks to prairie into LLC and then back into hardwoods. So it's going to be like sugar maples. I think there's some hickory and some oaks. So.
Mike.
All right, a couple of quick items. First one is, it was pretty exciting. Last evening at our Wisconsin Park and Rec Association annual conference, Mr. Jim White received the Fellowship Award from our state association for his 92 years, 39 years, 39 years of dedicated service to the Park and Rec Commission, 37 years as the chairman, also 39 years on Plan Commission. Jim, I did share with the commissioners, the little detail here. So it was a great event last evening. Jim had a standing ovation from over 400 people he got last night. His son-in-law and daughter were in town, grandson. So it was well-deserved. Craig Hepner kind of spearheaded it. So congratulations, Jim. And again, thank you.
You want to say a couple of things, Jim?
Turn this off. I just want to say it was a tremendous journey. And there's 4 or 5 people made it all possible to help me. And that was your esteemed directors. Starting with Gary Anderson, who I knew absolutely nothing about Park and Rec. He started it. Steve Shard came on board. He started bringing me to get more involved. When Hector came along, he just really ran with it. And then he left, and Mike said, we're not going to let anything live filming. So he has just run completely. So without any of those 4 gentlemen running this, made it really easy to be chair of this. But equally important was all of the Park and Rec staff. Without them, this would be absolutely nothing. So it's a credit to everybody in the city to acknowledge and really appreciate what this department and what this commission does. It was just good. very humbling experience, and a great honor to be part of this, and I really appreciate what everything that's happened. I had a small part of it. But thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for your leadership.
All right, second item, everyone has a giant spreadsheet at their place. This week, Monday, the Common Council unanimously approved the Riverwalk project. They gave us a green light to go ahead with hiring Yankee Construction out of Athens. Yankee was the general contractor that constructed the Veterans Avenue section along the east side of the river. We're fortunate with Yankee. A lot of the same key people that were there for that section of Riverwalk are still there. So they're still with the company. So it's a good indicator on the company itself, but we know what kind of quality we're going to get. If you have any questions on the spreadsheet, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'm not going to go over in detail. That the different revenue sources up on the top 1/3. Again, the award scenarios, we have Yankee in there as a general contractor. We also have a lot of owner direct purchase items, like the Riverwalk walls themselves, the stone, electrical components, light poles, even in-ground mounted electrical boxes, anything we can purchase ourselves and save that sales tax, things like that. We are doing that. We figure we're going to save between $40,000 and $45,000 just with the direct purchase items. So again, with Yankee, they built the east side, so even like the river or the Ready Rock walls are being made in Fond du Lac. We got quotes already. We went out for bid. We got our bids back for the different block suppliers. Yankee will haul the block for us for a cheaper cost. So they want the work. That way too, Yankee has more control over delivery timing, things like that. So, but all the costs associated are in here. Also on this spreadsheet, the grade areas is the investment the city's already put towards this project. So the city has about $1.8 million already invested into it. So total project cost is just a little north of $8 million. The Common Council gave us a green light for $6.2 million. So we're going to get it done. And my last item is staffing. Again, Mike had mentioned that Nick is moving to Swamico. He will be the recreation director up there. And then Sydney's retiring. Both of those positions have been posted. For the rec supervisor position, I would have to count, I'd probably have at least 15 applications or resumes for it. That one's going to be probably a little easier to fill than our project manager position. Jackie has done an outstanding job. She's already stepped up with a lot of our rec programs that we have going on right now. And I am trying to tackle all these projects. We have one or two things going on. But we will keep moving forward. Carolyn's always right in there during transitions like this to support us, Carolyn and Tanya, and communicate with our customers, things like that. For recreation right now, the only thing we looked at canceling is spring archery. We may have to cancel some other spring programs depending, but we just want to make sure we have our summer programs. Do as much prep as we can so when we bring the new staff member on board, they can pick up the ball and just keep running with it. We don't want to lose those all summer long softball leagues and things like that. Once we lose those, it's just not going to come back. The 6-week courses in the spring, if we have to cancel a couple of those, that's just a reality. If we don't have staff to do it, we don't have staff to do it. But the summer ones are the big ones. So that's what I got.
Anybody got questions for Mike?
When they're working on phase 4, 2 and 3 will remain open, that area downtown, right?
They will. Ultimately, the timeline for it is phase 4 completion is October 1st of this year. Phase 2 completion is June of next year. Phase 3 is June of 2024. So they're going to be lots of different variables in the schedule for them. Phase 2 and 3, they can't work in the river from March 15th to May 15th because of spawning, turtle spawning, etc. That's a reality. It's breeding season. Phase 4, north of Washington Street, because the permit is newer, they cannot work in the river until after June 15th. So we have different same permit from the same department coming out of Madison, just different schedules. That's just the reality of it. So we have that. Also, for phase 2, we have a stewardship grant out there. We can't start any work, we can't drop a hand, we can sign a contract with them, but they can't drop anything off, do anything until we have that grant agreement signed and in place. If we do, it voids the grant. So we're still working through that process also. So scheduling and when things are gonna happen, because the covered alleys is part of phase 2. If it were up to us, we'd start on that tomorrow. Well, we can't because we don't have the grant agreement in there. And the grant is going to be probably $249,000. Well, it would be nice to get that $249,000. So, but ultimately they'll get phase 4 done. Then they're gonna start on phase 3 with the river walls. I'm sorry, phase 2 with the river walls. And they're probably just gonna go right into phase 3 with the river walls. Same equipment, same staff, same scenario. So they'll probably do that and then go back to phase 2 and do a lot of the work out of the river on phase 2. So, and it's basically a 26, 27-month contract. So if who knows what concrete prices and things are going to be in 24 months. So they talked about expediting it, also moving the schedule along a little quicker, just to get it done. So yeah. So, but no, we had 2 bids on it. It was Yankee and Zignago. Zignago's 1.5 million more expensive. I mean, both good companies, both companies can do it, but it's not a street project. It's not a storm sewer project. It's asphalt and concrete. It's river walls. There's a lot of unique work associated with this. A lot of electrical work, so. And then as of right now, it looks as if a local electrical company will be doing all that work. I don't want to say who yet, but I mean, at least, some local companies will be involved, things like that. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Good.
Anything else for Mike? Is there anything else for the good of the Park and Rec Commission tonight? Meeting adjourned.